On a warm, sunny afternoon in early spring, Sarah decided it was the perfect day to take her baby daughter, Emma, out for a walk. The gentle breeze carried the fresh scent of blooming flowers, and the birds sang happily from the treetops. The small suburban neighborhood where they lived was usually calm and quiet, just the kind of place where neighbors greeted each other with smiles, and kids played safely in yards. Yet Sarah loved these moments with Emma. At just over a year old, Emma was full of wonder and excitement, her bright eyes constantly discovering something new. Today, Emma was bundled up in her favorite yellow jacket, her tiny hands wrapped tightly around Sarah's fingers as they wandered along a familiar path that cut through a cluster of trees near their home. It was a routine they both enjoyed, a simple way to get fresh air and soak up the sun dot as they walked. Emma suddenly stopped and let out a high-pitched babble, her tiny finger pointing toward the side of the path. Sarah followed her gaze, but at first she saw nothing but grass and scattered leaves. Curious, she knelt down beside Emma and peered closer. There, partially hidden under a thin layer of dried leaves, entangled among some discarded trash, was a crumpled plastic bag. It was dirty and weathered, as if it had been there for some time. At first, Sarah hesitated. Why was there garbage here? But then she noticed a faint movement inside the bag. Her heart skipped a beat. Inside the plastic, curled up tightly and trembling, was the small shape of a puppy. The puppy looked barely bigger than Emma's tiny hands. Its fur was dirty and matted, and it seemed so fragile that Sarah's breath caught in her throat. She could see its chest rising and falling slowly, but the pup was shivering uncontrollably in the chilly spring air. Sarah's mind raced. How could someone have left this poor creature here, alone and helpless? The puppy was so young, it looked like a German shepherd, but far too small and weak to be outside on its own. Without a second thought, Sarah carefully reached down and unwrapped the puppy from the plastic bag. The pup was curled into a ball, its little body trembling. Sarah's heart ached as she wrapped the tiny dog gently in her jacket to warm it. Emma, sensing the importance of the moment even at her young age, quietly watched, her blue eyes wide with curiosity and concern. She reached out a chubby hand and softly touched the puppy's fur. The puppy nuzzled her finger weakly, and Sarah felt a spark of hope. Immediately, Sarah pulled out her phone and dialed her husband. "Mark, you won't believe what I just found," she said, her voice shaking. "It's a German shepherd puppy abandoned in a plastic bag near the path. He's so cold and scared. We need to get him help." Mark was at work, but promised to meet them right away with the car. Sarah knew they didn't have much time. The puppy's breathing was shallow, and it was clear he needed immediate care. As she waited, Sarah kept the puppy close to her chest, whispering soft words to calm him. Emma cuddled next to her, occasionally stroking the pup's fur with gentle baby fingers. Despite the puppy's weakness, Sarah could see a flicker of life in his eyes, a silent plea for help that she was determined to answer. Passing by stopped to watch the scene with concern. Some offered tissues, others asked if the family needed anything. The community's warmth and kindness wrapped around them, giving Sarah strength. Minutes felt like hours, but finally, Mark arrived. Together, they carefully placed the puppy in a soft carrier and rushed toward the nearest veterinary clinic. Sarah glanced back once, hoping the little pup had the strength to pull through. This unexpected discovery had turned an ordinary afternoon into a life-changing moment, one filled with uncertainty, but also the beginning of a hopeful new chapter for a tiny dog who had been given a second chance. The car ride to the veterinary clinic was tense and quiet. Sarah held the tiny German shepherd close, feeling his fragile heartbeat beneath her palm. Emma, sensing the seriousness of the moment, stayed unusually still, her small hand resting gently on the pup's head. Outside the window, the world blurred. by, but Sarah's focus remained fixed on the little life in her arms. When they arrived at the clinic, the vet's office was bustling with the usual activity staff moving quickly between rooms, phones ringing, and anxious pet owners waiting for their turn. But the moment Sarah stepped inside carrying the small bundle, everything seemed to pause. The receptionist looked up, eyes wide with concern, as Sarah explained what had happened. Within minutes, a veterinarian appeared, her face calm but serious. She gently took the puppy from Sarah's arms and examined him carefully. His ribs showed through his dirty fur, and his breathing was shallow and uneven. The vet frowned and immediately directed the team to prepare an emergency treatment area. The pup was wrapped in warm blankets, placed under a heat lamp, and given fluids through and for. The vet explained that the dog was severely dehydrated, weak from hunger, and likely had been abandoned for days. His body temperature was dangerously low, and every sign pointed to a long struggle for survival. Sarah watched anxiously as the medical staff worked. She felt a mixture of guilt and anger. How could someone have been so cruel to this innocent animal? Who would leave such a young dog alone, trapped inside a plastic bag, as if he were trash? But beneath the despair, a quiet hope grew inside her. The pup had made it this far, and maybe, just maybe, he was a fighter. The vet introduced herself as Dr. Reyes and promised to do everything possible to save him. She explained that the coming hours were critical and that they would need to monitor the puppy closely. The family was welcome to stay and visit as much as they liked. Sarah didn't hesitate. She settled in a nearby chair, cradling Emma in her lap, and kept her eyes on the little dog. She whispered softly, telling him that he was safe now, that they would not leave him alone ever again. As the afternoon passed, Sarah called Mark, who was still at work. She updated him on the situation, trying to keep her voice steady. Mark dropped everything and promised to come to the clinic as soon as possible. Sarah felt a wave of relief, knowing her husband would be there soon. Meanwhile, the staff worked tirelessly, administering antibiotics and vitamins, cleaning the puppy's wounds, and checking his vital signs. It was a delicate balance between hope and worry, but slowly, small signs of improvement appeared. The pup's breathing steadied. His eyes, still tired and weak, blinked more clearly. Occasionally, he would twitch his tiny paws as if testing his strength. Each little movement was a victory. Emma, fascinated by the tiny life in front of her, reached out to touch the puppy's soft fur with gentle fingers. Sarah smiled through her tears, overwhelmed by the pure innocence and connection between her daughter and the fragile dog. Throughout the evening, neighbors and friends learned about the rescue and sent messages of support. Some dropped off blankets and food for the puppy, while others volunteered to help once he was ready to leave the clinic. The community's kindness wrapped around Sarah and her family, reminding them they were not alone in this fight. As night fell, the clinic quieted down. Sarah and Emma stayed in the waiting room, exhausted but hopeful. Dr. Reyes came to check on them and gave a small but encouraging update. The puppy was stable for now, but his journey to recovery would be long. Sarah gently stroked the pup's head, feeling a spark of determination. This little German shepherd had survived something unimaginable, and now she would make sure he had every chance to live a full, happy life. For the first time since the discovery, a small smile appeared on Sarah's lips. The puppy's story was just beginning, and no matter what challenges lay ahead, she knew they would face them together. The night air was cool and crisp as Sarah, Mark, and little Emma hurried toward the veterinary clinic. Sarah's arms cradled the fragile German shepherd puppy, who seemed smaller than ever, against her chest. His tiny body shivered despite the warmth of her jacket. Each breath he took was shallow and uneven, and Sarah felt her heart tightening with worry. Every second felt like a race against time. Mark drove carefully but quickly, eyes flicking to Sarah now and then, reading the worry on her face. Emma was unusually quiet, her usual chatter replaced by soft coos as she watched the puppy, as if sensing how serious this moment was. Sarah whispered comforting words to both of them, trying to stay calm for her family and for the little dog who depended on them. When they arrived, the clinic was still busy despite the late hour. The fluorescent lights inside cast a bright glow, and the faint scent of antiseptic filled the air. Sarah's grip tightened around the pup as they stepped inside. The receptionist immediately recognized the urgency in Sarah's voice and called for help. Within moments, Dr. Reyes appeared, her face focused and kind. She took the puppy gently from Sarah's arms and examined him with practiced hands. The dog's ribs were visible through his filthy, tangled fur. His eyes were half closed, glassy with exhaustion. It was clear he had been through something terrible. "You did the right thing bringing him in," Dr. Reyes said softly. "He's severely dehydrated, malnourished, and probably has an infection. We'll do everything we can to save him, but it will be touch and go for a while." Sarah nodded, swallowing a lump in her throat. She watched as the vet and her team quickly prepared fluids and warmth. The puppy was placed on a heating pad and given N4 to deliver much-needed hydration and nutrients. Every movement was deliberate and careful, as if the pup's tiny body might break at any moment. The family waited in a small room nearby. Sarah sat holding Emma on her lap, their eyes never leaving the door to the treatment area. Mark sat quietly beside them, his hand resting protectively on Sarah's knee. The clinic's hum of activity faded into the background as they focused entirely on the fragile life fighting inside. Time stretched and folded into itself. Minutes felt like hours. Every sound from the treatment room, soft whimpers, gentle murmurs from the vets, the beep of medical monitors sent waves of hope and fear crashing through Sarah's chest. Suddenly, a nurse appeared with a small, damp cloth. "He's stable for now," she said, offering a faint smile. "He's responding to the fluids and care. It's still early, but he's a fighter." Relief washed over Sarah like a cool breeze. She glanced down at Emma, who smiled sleepily and reached toward her mother's face. "He's going to be okay," Sarah whispered, almost to herself. "We'll make sure of it." During the long night, Sarah kept returning to the puppy, speaking softly to him through the thin curtains that separated the treatment area. She promised him warmth, safety, and love, things he had never known. Though he was too weak to respond much, the little dog's breathing slowly grew steadier. Mark called family members to share the news. Messages of support began flooding in from friends and neighbors who had heard about the rescue. People offered blankets, food, and even homes for when the pup was well enough. The kindness of strangers added a layer of strength to the family's hope. Emma's innocent presence was a comfort to all. Despite the stress, her bright eyes and gentle touch reminded Sarah why they had to keep going. This tiny girl had unknowingly helped save a life, and now that life depended on them. As the first light of dawn broke through the clinic's windows, Dr. Reyes returned with an update. "He's still very fragile, but his body is responding. We'll keep him here under observation and continue treatment. If all goes well, he might pull through." Sarah nodded, tears threatening to spill, but a smile breaking through. They weren't out of danger, but the puppy's fight had just begun, and so had theirs. For the first time since finding him, Sarah allowed herself to hope. She looked at her family, Mark, Emma, and the tiny life she held so carefully, and knew they were ready for whatever came next. Together, they had rushed to save a fragile life. Now, they would fight to give that life a future. The veterinary clinic was quiet now, the chaos of the day fading into a stillness, broken only by soft beeps and gentle footsteps. Inside the treatment room, the tiny German Shepherd pup lay swaddled. in blankets beneath a warm heat lamp. His fragile body rose and fell slowly with each labored breath. Sarah and Mark sat just outside the curtain, their hearts heavy but full of hope. Dr. Reyes had made it clear the next 48 hours would be critical. The puppy's body was weak, his immune system fragile, and his chances of survival uncertain. But the team of vets and nurses were relentless in their care, giving the little dog every ounce of attention and love he needed. Sarah kept replaying the moment she found him, curled up and helpless inside a plastic bag. How someone could abandon such a young, innocent creature was beyond her comprehension. Yet, as she looked at the puppy now, so small, so vulnerable, she felt a fierce determination rising within her. This wasn't just a stray dog. He was a fighter, and he deserved a second chance. Emma, still too young to fully understand the situation, sat quietly in Sarah's lap, occasionally reaching out to touch the soft blanket covering the pup. Her innocent presence brought warmth to the sterile clinic room. Sarah smiled softly, amazed at how her daughter's pure heart seemed to soothe the puppy's pain. Even when he was too weak to respond, the hours passed slowly. Sarah took turns holding Emma and pacing the waiting room, each step heavy with worry and hope. Mark stayed close, offering quiet support and whispering words of encouragement whenever Sarah's strength wavered. They both knew the road ahead would not be easy. Throughout the night, Dr. Reyes and her team monitored the puppy's vital signs closely. The little dog's temperature fluctuated dangerously, and his breathing remained shallow. Every small improvement, an eye fluttering open, a slight movement of his paw, was celebrated like a miracle. At one point, Sarah knelt beside the treatment area, gently speaking to the pup. "You're so brave, little one. We're here now, and we won't let anything happen to you." Her voice trembled, but her resolve was firm. This pup's life was worth fighting for. Despite the odds, the puppy's spirit seemed to flicker faintly. Dr. Reyes shared cautious optimism. "He's a strong little guy," she said. "Some dogs have a will to live that surprises even the experts. We just need to give him time." As the night deepened, Sarah and Mark took turns sitting beside the pup, holding his tiny paw when he was awake, stroking his fur when he slept. Emma occasionally babbled softly, as if offering encouragement in her own way. That tiny puppy was no longer alone. Outside the clinic, the world moved on, but inside, a battle for survival was unfolding. Sarah thought about the future, the home they would prepare for him, the toys and blankets waiting, the love ready to be poured out. For now, though, all that mattered was this fragile life holding on. At dawn, the vet returned with an update. The puppy was stable, but still extremely weak. It was too soon to say what his future held, but every small step forward was a victory. Sarah let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. As she held Emma close, Sarah realized this experience was changing her in ways she hadn't expected. The helpless pup had already taught her about hope, resilience, and the power of compassion. She promised herself and the little dog that she would fight alongside him every step of the way. For the tiny German shepherd curled in that clinic bed, the battle had only just begun, but so had the love and care that would help him survive. Days passed in a blur of worry, hope, and constant care. At the veterinary clinic, the tiny German shepherd puppy, now affectionately called Lucky, remained under close observation. Every hour felt like a test of patience and faith for Sarah and her family. Yet, in the midst of uncertainty, a fragile glimmer of hope began to shine. Lucky's breathing, once shallow and uneven, started to slow and deepen. His chest rose and fell with a steadier rhythm, a sign that his little body was responding to the treatment. Dr. Reyes and the nursing staff watched with quiet optimism, carefully adjusting medications and fluids to support his fragile system. One morning, as the sun filtered gently through the clinic windows, Lucky did something that took everyone by surprise. His heavy eyelids fluttered open, revealing eyes that were still weak, but filled with a glint of awareness. The room seemed to hold its breath as the tiny dog looked around, blinking at the unfamiliar surroundings. Sarah was by his side in an instant, her heart pounding with emotion. She gently stroked his head and whispered, "You're safe now, Lucky. We're going to take care of you." Emma, sitting quietly nearby, reached out her chubby hand and touched Lucky's soft fur. The puppy responded with a faint wag of his tail, a small but powerful sign that he was beginning to recognize the kindness around him. Sarah's eyes welled with tears. After days of uncertainty, this moment felt like a miracle. The vet explained that while Lucky was still very weak, these were promising signs. His body was slowly regaining strength, and his spirit was awakening. It was clear he had a deep will to live, a determination that inspired everyone who cared for him. As Lucky's condition improved, Sarah began visiting the clinic more often, bringing Emma along. The little girl's laughter and gentle touch seemed to brighten the room and soothe Lucky's recovering body. Their bond was growing every day, a testament to the healing power of love. Mark joined them whenever he could, and the family started planning for Lucky's future outside the clinic. They researched everything about German Shepherds, eager to provide the best home for their new furry family member. Sarah even set up a small online page to share Lucky's story, hoping to raise awareness about abandoned animals and the importance of rescue. The response was overwhelming. Messages of support poured in from friends, neighbors, and strangers who had been touched by Lucky's journey. People sent blankets, toys, and offers to help once he was ready to come home. The small community rallied around the puppy and the family, turning what began as a heartbreaking rescue into a story of hope and kindness. Back at the clinic, Lucky's personality started to shine through. Despite his frailty, he showed moments of playfulness, a wagging tail here, a gentle lick there. His eyes grew brighter, and he began to respond more actively to voices and touch. Sarah and Mark watched in amazement as Lucky took his first tentative steps around the treatment room. Though unsteady, those steps marked the beginning of a new life, one far removed from the darkness of abandonment. Emma giggled joyfully when Lucky nuzzled her fingers, and Sarah felt a profound sense of gratitude. This little dog, found in such a desperate state, had touched their hearts in ways they never imagined. He had become a symbol of resilience and hope. As the days turned into weeks, the bond between Emma and Lucky deepened. Sarah knew that once Lucky was strong enough, their lives would change forever. The family was ready to open their home and hearts, welcoming a new member who had already proven his incredible strength. Lucky's first signs of recovery were more than just medical milestones. They were a promise that love and care could heal even the most broken spirits. As Lucky grew stronger each day, the atmosphere in the veterinary clinic began to shift from tense and uncertain to hopeful and joyful. Sarah, Mark, and Emma became regular visitors, their faces lighting up whenever they saw the little German Shepherd pup who had captured their hearts. The once frail and trembling bundle was now beginning to show signs of his true spirit, a lively, curious pup eager to explore the world. Though his fur still bore the marks of neglect, his bright eyes sparkled with newfound energy and trust. Every wag of his tail was a silent thank you to the family who had refused to give up on him. Sarah had spent countless hours researching what Lucky would need to thrive. She read about proper nutrition, training, and the special care German Shepherds required. She even connected with local rescue groups and trainers to prepare for the moment Lucky would finally leave the clinic and come home. That moment was drawing closer. The vet team, encouraged by Lucky's progress, began discussing his transition out of the hospital. His vitals were stable, and his appetite had returned. Most importantly, his playful nature had blossomed, a sure sign that his body and spirit were healing. One afternoon, Dr. Reyes sat down with Sarah and Mark to share the exciting news. "Lucky is ready to leave the clinic," she said with a warm smile. "He'll still need care and patience as he adjusts, but he's strong enough now to start the next chapter of his life." Sarah's eyes welled up with tears. It was a moment she had dreamed about since the day she found Lucky curled inside that plastic bag. Mark squeezed her hand, and Emma clapped her tiny hands in delight. Even if she didn't fully understand what was happening, the family knew their lives were about to change in wonderful ways. They had already started preparing their home setting. Up a cozy corner with a soft bed, gathering toys, and puppy-proofing the rooms. They wanted Lucky to feel safe and loved from the moment he walked through the door. On Lucky's first day home, the air was filled with nervous excitement. Sarah carried him carefully in her arms as they entered the house, the soft sounds of Emma's giggles mingling with the puppy's tentative whines. Lucky explored his new surroundings slowly, sniffing every corner and meeting new smells and sights with wide eyes. Sarah could see the flicker of curiosity, replacing fear as he tentatively stepped forward, his paws touching the soft carpet. Emma followed closely behind, her tiny hands reaching out to stroke Lucky's fur. The puppy responded with gentle licks and a wagging tail, already forming a bond with the little girl who had been with him from the very beginning. Mark set up a small play area in the living room, filled with colorful toys and blankets. Lucky's first attempts at playing were clumsy but full of heart. He pounced on a squeaky toy, then flopped onto his side, clearly exhausted but happy. Over the next few days, Lucky settled into the rhythm of family life. Sarah kept a close eye on his health, giving medications as prescribed and keeping appointments with the vet for follow-ups. Each day brought small victories, stronger legs, brighter eyes, a more confident bark. Sarah marveled at how quickly Lucky adapted, his trust growing with every kind word and gentle touch. The shadow of his past seemed to fade a little more each day, replaced by the warmth of love and belonging. Emma, with her innocent joy, became Lucky's favorite companion. They played together in the backyard, where Lucky chased butterflies and rolled in the grass, discovering the joys of freedom and safety. One evening, as the sun set and painted the sky with warm colors, Sarah watched her family together. Mark tossed a ball for Lucky, who eagerly chased after it. Emma clapped and laughed, reaching out to pet the puppy when he returned. Sarah felt a deep sense of peace. From the heartbreaking moment she found Lucky abandoned and curled inside that plastic bag, to now where he was thriving, loved, and part of their family, the journey had been long and challenging, but worth every step. This was more than a rescue. It was a new beginning, a second chance for a tiny dog who refused to give up. And for Sarah and her family, it was a reminder that sometimes the smallest lives can teach the biggest lessons. Life with Lucky at home quickly settled into a comforting routine, but it was anything but ordinary. For Sarah, Mark, and little Emma, every day was filled with moments of joy, discovery, and quiet healing, not just for the puppy, but for the whole family. Lucky's transformation was nothing short of miraculous. From the fragile, scared pup found curled inside a plastic bag, he had blossomed into a lively, affectionate dog with a gentle spirit. His once dull eyes now sparkled with curiosity, and his wagging tail was a constant reminder of his gratitude for the second chance he'd been given. Sarah watched Lucky's progress with awe. Each day brought new milestones. His playful bark, his eagerness to explore the backyard, and the way he would nuzzle Emma's hand when she called his name. The puppy's resilience inspired them all, but it was the bond between Lucky and Emma that was truly special. Emma, still small but full of love, had quickly become Lucky's closest companion. They spent hours playing together, Emma's laughter echoing through the house as Lucky chased after her tiny feet or gently licked her cheeks. Their innocent friendship healed parts of both their hearts, bridging the gap between human and animal. With pure affection, Mark took on the role of Lucky's trainer, patiently teaching the pup basic commands and helping him build confidence. It was a slow process, especially given Lucky's early trauma, but with every sit and stay, Lucky grew more sure of himself and of the family who now adored him. One afternoon, Sarah noticed Lucky hesitating at the front door, ears lowered and tail tucked slightly. It was a quiet reminder that, despite all the progress, Lucky's past fears still lingered. Sarah knelt beside him, speaking softly. "It's okay, Lucky. We're here. You're safe." Her gentle words seemed to ease his anxiety. Slowly, Lucky stepped outside, his nose twitching as he took in the fresh air. Sarah smiled, knowing that healing was a journey, not a destination. The family's dedication extended beyond their home. Sarah shared Lucky's story online, hoping to inspire others to consider rescue and adoption. The response was heartwarming. Messages poured in from people moved by Lucky's courage and resilience. Many shared their own stories of saving animals and finding unexpected joy. Through it all, Sarah felt a renewed sense of purpose. Lucky's rescue had opened her eyes to the countless animals still in need, and she began volunteering with local shelters, determined to make a difference. At home, evenings became a cherished time for family bonding. Sarah, Mark, Emma, and Lucky would gather in the living room, sharing quiet moments filled with love. Lucky's place was always close to Emma, his head resting gently on her lap as she drifted off to sleep. One night, as Sarah watched her daughter and Lucky together, she felt tears of gratitude. The puppy who had been abandoned, scared, and alone had not only survived, he had brought her family closer and healed wounds they hadn't known existed. Lucky's journey was far from over, but the darkness of his past was slowly giving way to a future filled with love, laughter, and hope. Sarah knew there would be challenges ahead, adjusting to his growing strength, managing the fears that still surfaced, but she was ready. Together, they would face whatever came next. For Lucky, the battle had changed. No longer a fight for survival alone. It was a journey toward trust, happiness, and a life filled with the warmth of a family who loved him deeply. And for Sarah and her family, Lucky was more than a rescued dog. He was a symbol of resilience, compassion, and the incredible power of second chances. Months had passed since Lucky's first shaky steps into Sarah and Mark's home, and the little German shepherd was no longer the fragile pup curled inside a plastic bag. He was a thriving dog with a lively spirit, endless affection, and a loyalty that filled the house with warmth and laughter. Sarah often marveled at how much he had changed, not just in health, but in heart. His eyes, once dull and fearful, now shone bright with trust. Lucky had learned to love and be loved in return, and his transformation had deeply touched everyone who met him. Emma and Lucky were inseparable. The little girl's laughter and energy brought out a playful side in the dog, while Lucky's gentle nature made Emma feel safe and cherished. They grew together, exploring the world side by side, their bond a testament to the healing power of love. One sunny afternoon, the family gathered in the backyard. Lucky chased a ball with joyful abandon, his powerful legs now strong and sure. Emma clapped excitedly, encouraging him with gleeful shouts. Sarah and Mark watched, their hearts full. "Look at him," Sarah said softly. "From that plastic bag to running free in our yard. It's like a miracle." Mark nodded, a smile spreading across his face. He's not just Lucky, he's family. That word carried so much meaning. Lucky had become an irreplaceable part of their lives, filling spaces they hadn't known were empty. His journey from abandonment to belonging was a story of hope that inspired everyone who heard it. The family continued their efforts to help other animals in need. Inspired by Lucky's survival, Sarah started a small nonprofit dedicated to rescuing abandoned dogs and connecting them with loving homes. Mark and Emma joined her whenever they could, spreading kindness and awareness in their community. Lucky became an ambassador for rescue animals. His story shared far and wide. People who had once been indifferent to the plight of abandoned pets now found themselves opening their hearts and homes. Lucky's journey reminded them that every life mattered, and every act of kindness could change the world. Despite the happy ending, Sarah never forgot the dark day when she found Lucky curled inside that plastic bag. It was a reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of compassion. She hoped their story would encourage others to be the difference for animals in need. As Lucky curled up at Sarah's feet that evening, tired but content, she felt a profound gratitude. This little dog had taught her about resilience, hope, and the incredible bond between humans and animals. Emma leaned over to pet Lucky, whispering, "Thank you for staying with us." Lucky looked up, his tail wagging slowly, as if understanding every word. Their story was a testament to the power of love, second chances, and the family that had come together because of one small, abandoned pup. And as the stars twinkled outside their window, Sarah knew the future was bright for Lucky, for her family, and for all the lives yet to be saved.